The President of Global Forum on Cyber Expertise.
And I'd also say, I can't express how happy I am to be back in Accra, back in Ghana. I've been here a couple times before, unfortunately not for a little while, but the very first time I came was back in 2011. And the occasion for that was I was then working at the U.S. State Department. That was the first cyber.
Well, stronger. Now, let me say a couple words before I launch into the conference. And I want to thank Dr. Albert for doing such a great job and talking about this. And I'll comment a little bit more on Ghana, too. And I agree with everything you said on that. But the GFC, the Global Forum on Cyber Expertise, which we're very proud to have Ghana as a member of, is an organization that was started back in 2015, so not that long ago, at a global conference for cyberspace that was held in The Hague, which brought together people from all over the world then. And its goal was really to promote, coordinate, and better give priority to these cybersecurity capacity building efforts, to be an information sharing platform, to be a coordination platform. We can't afford, the resources that we have for this are still relatively small, to have those resources wasted because there's not coordination between the recipients, the donors, the implementers, all of those communities to come together along a whole wide range of issues, everything from things like national strategies, which are a core building block of your cyber activity, to having agencies like you have here in Ghana, to having computer emergency response teams, so like the ambulances or the hospitals on the internet in a sense, to having awareness and education and training, which is critically important because the workforce simply is not there for this. There's far more jobs than there are people to fill them, and we need to train people up around the world. To cybercrime issues. So all of these issues are critically, and even cyber diplomacy, training a new group of cyber diplomats who are able to deal with these issues because they're increasingly being debated in every UN forum around the world. You mentioned the ITU. Every forum you can think of, African Union certainly, these are becoming issues. So it's important to have all those things in place. And that's what the GFC was stood up to do as a true multi-stakeholder organization. Governments, like Ghana, like many other governments, now about 60 governments, civil society, academia, and industry all working together. And that multi-stakeholder approach makes us stronger because each of us have a piece of this, each of us understand different parts of this. And the GFC has really thrived over the last few years. Even with the challenges of the pandemic, we are now over 200 members and partners of all those categories. We're working on regional hubs. We've done quite a bit in Africa, creating an Africa Cyber Experts Group and launching more initiatives in Africa. We've done this also in the Pacific Islands and other places. That's important because it's a global issue, but it's also a local issue and a regional issue. So now on to the conference. As Albert said, on the 29th and 30th of November, the inaugural, this is really a first of its kind. Yes, there are lots of cyber conferences around the world. Yes, you can see, I used to say there's so many cyber summits, it seems like you're in the cyber Alps or the cyber, whatever mountain range you want to talk about. But this is unique. This is really the first of its kind, dedicated not just to capacity building, but bringing different communities together at a high level. And as was said, not just the cybersecurity capacity building community, which is a really important community, which is what the GFC has helped put together, but also the traditional development community, the people who do water, the people who do power, the people like the World Bank and USAID and development agencies all over the world. It's critically important for these two groups who sometimes don't talk too well together because they don't really mix that much, to understand each other. Because if you think about cyber, as I said, it's a platform. It is the foundation for development too. Everything's being controlled by cyber. So if you're going to put in a water system, you're going to put in a power system, you're going to put dams in, you're going to do a financial system, you need to have good cybersecurity, and bringing those two communities together increases our resources, increases our resolve, and allows us to work more effectively together. And so the conference is really organized to raise awareness of the importance that every nation has and the expertise, knowledge, and skills to invest in their digital future, and to encourage countries to work together on developing these capabilities to ensure that open, free digital world that we all want, and secure digital world. We're trying to mainstream cyber resilience, and the theme, as was noted, is resilience. Why do we pick resilience? Because when you say security, people think, oh, that's a security thing. That's not my job. You know, security, that's other people's job. That's the government's job. They'll do that. But when you talk about resilience and development, that's really what we're trying to get at. We're trying to bridge that gap, even in language, between different communities to make sure that we're seeing this as one concerted thing that lifts us all up. We're bringing together high-level leaders, experts on cybersecurity and capacity building, and international development community around the world here in Accra. Attending the conference offers them the opportunity to work on common goals and solutions. And in addition, the GC3B, which is what we call the Global Conference on Cyber Capacity Building, GC3B just rolls off your tongue, right? So good term. Will address the international need to increase resources for cyber capacity building. As I said, they're not enough. We really need to increase those resources, which, as I said, is a key enabler for sustainable development, economic growth, and social progress. As a highlight of the GC3B, we plan to launch the Accra Call. It's a global framework for concrete action. It's not just a document. You know, I always worry that you come up with a declaration or a document, it becomes what we call shelfware. You put it on a shelf, you did it, no one ever pays attention to it again. That's not what this is. This is an action-oriented framework where all the different participants can volunteer to take on and make sure they're moving us forward, because we can't afford just to stay still. So it really means to move us forward, just like Ghana has done in this country. So that's really important, what's happening in the government here. As was mentioned, it's co-organized by us, the GFC, but also the World Bank, major development agency, the Cyber Peace Institute, which has been dealing with a lot of human rights online, and the World Bank, as I mentioned, the World Economic Forum. So that brings the business community. And so all of those people, and as I said, and I'm so grateful for this, is being hosted by our host here, the government of Ghana. And just to kind of foot stomp, as they say, what you were saying about why Ghana was so important. Indeed, it has been a leader in the region for many years on these things. It is, obviously a major commercial hub in Africa. It is a fast-growing city. It's grown since I've been here last, certainly. And cybersecurity is a central pillar of Ghana's digital strategy, promoting a smart economy through ICT. And so that's really key too. And again, shows leadership. There's been a number of projects that have been spearheaded here, like the Girls in ICT, which is empowering women in ICT, which is a critically important thing we need to do. And it's been a leading example of economic digitization. And I think, again, that's what we're trying to achieve, and that's what cybersecurity helps. I was also mentioned the Freedom Online Coalition. I helped found that. I remember that back a while ago. And it's really happy to see that that's thrived, and Ghana has been a key member for a long time there. And obviously, I think you're right. If you weren't a member, we probably wouldn't have had it here, so it's important that you're a member. But it was never a question to become a member. You wanted to become a member. We welcomed you, and you've been very active in all of our working groups, so we really appreciate that. The last thing I'll just hit on briefly is the Accra Call. And as I said, that's supposed to be a flexible framework that's supposed to really help motivate and catalyze actions from a number of different areas. And it has again, it's voluntary. The people who endorse it, it's voluntary for them to take these actions forward. We'll keep track of how the actions are going so we can keep track of the progress they're making. Again, we don't want this to be a static document. And it's really organized around 4 pillars. Strengthening the role of cyber resilience as an enabler for sustainable development, what I was talking about earlier. Advancing demand-driven, effective, and sustainable cyber capacity building. So, one of the things we found is demand-driven is really important. A lot of times countries are like, oh, we'll give you a program. We'll give you this program. And that country doesn't need that program. Or they've gotten that program 7 times already. That doesn't help them. So you need to have something where you're asking the people, what is it you need? How can we build this? And if you do that, it becomes more sustainable. It's not like you have a one-off event, you go away, and 5 years later, nothing's happened. You have a growth period. You have a sustainability period. So sustainability is important, and demand-driven is important. Fostering stronger partnerships and better coordination, that really is why the GFC was stood up, to have that better coordination, to bring partners together. You heard from our Ghana host how important it was, and thank you, Deputy Minister, as well, for partnerships, why that's such a key thing in this area, and it certainly is. And finally, and not surprisingly, I suppose, unlocking greater financial resources for cooperation and implementation, because that really is an important thing. All the things we need to do, we can't do without those resources. So with that, I wanted to close. I also wanted to, again, just express my thanks for having me here. My thanks for you guys coming out today. My thanks to our host, to the Deputy Minister, to CSA, to really everyone involved. And thank you for all the high-level folks who've come, both from the Ghana government and from Morocco, and of course my friend Mokhtar, our special envoy as well. So thank you for everything. Really look forward to the conference. I think it's going to be a great success. And it's not going to be just a conference, it's going to be the launching point for going forward and being even better and stronger than we have been in the past. So thank you.
Thanks for watching. Please like,